I gave up being shy. That is the title of the poetry book that I self-published now five years ago. And now 5 years later is when I realized that I've become shy again. That poetry book was really, really meaningful for me, and I'm really proud of that 24-year-old self that went out to India and Nepal, and I went to other countries as well on the trip, but that these countries were the most meaningful. I literally had no money on my bank account. I had 500 euros and I was on the road for 4 months. And I remember telling myself that on this trip I'm not going to ask any money from my parents, that I am going to do this somehow, it doesn't matter how, but I'm going to do this trip without their help, without that safety net that they have always provided me and that I'm really grateful of. But this trip I needed to do by myself. And I'm forever grateful to my friend who back then told me that, hey, if at any point during your trip you're gonna find yourself in trouble and that you wanna fly home, then don't worry, I'm gonna buy you a plane ticket and you can come home. I never needed that plane ticket, but that knowing that you are gonna be safe no matter what and that you are loved, that gave me the courage to really do this. So thank you for that. But why that trip was also so meaningful and how I could even be so creative was because, hey, I had no money to spend. I didn't have my laptop with me to go away from myself like I do these days. I watch series and I mindlessly scroll on social media. In most places there in India and Nepal, I didn't have working internet either. So I was stuck being with myself, and also I was put in a situation where I had to open up. I had to talk to strangers and make friends with strangers. And it's so beautiful. And that's the opposite of being shy, because when you're shy and you're just in a foreign country where you don't know anyone, then this can be a miserable experience. And on those moments where I was shy, again, then I had the moment to really go to introspection, and there opened up new creative I don't even have a word for it. So I became creative and I wrote these poems, and I haven't read those poems for 5 years because they're raw and they're vulnerable, and it's a version of me that no longer exists, but it's still a version of me. It was a part of me, and I think I haven't wanted to re-experience those emotions and feelings that I had back then, because those poems would bring me right back. But how I came to a conclusion that I've become shy again, and why I've become shy again, is because when you actually allow yourself to be vulnerable and real and authentic, then as much love as you get back, you also get back criticism and hatred and jealousy. I was 24 years old when I wrote those poems. I was 25 years old when I published the book. And I got warm feedback from my friends and acquaintances, family members. But I also got like hatred and cruelty and criticism from strangers. And that hurt my young little soul so much that now 5 years later I've realized that I've been shy. I've shied away from exploring my deepest depths. You know, there's so much in each of us. So many things and so much creativity if we allow ourselves to go deep within, and if we take moments to be in silence, and also if we take or like give ourselves the permission to be open and let people in. I know that when I was 24 years old and when I traveled there, there's still like parts of me that are the same, that still apply to me. Like what I craved most was being seen and loved for who I was, being held. I've always craved for like real deep connections and friendships. But when I'm shy and when I don't open up, then I can't have that either. I can give it to myself, and that's like the foundation. But there's more. And I've sit with myself now. I could easily say for 2 years I've sat with myself in silence for hours and hours and hours and hours. And I've developed this capacity to listen attentively, to listen to myself. So I know what I want, what I need, what I crave for. Listening in my own like perspective also needs that I take a step to now do something about the knowledge that I've got through sitting and listening. When it comes to other people and listening, then I've found that the real virtue is to listen without having the need to reply. We don't have to reply. We have to attentively be there to understand, to see the perspective that the person gives, like their authentic perspective. And I might see this whole situation completely different, but it doesn't mean that I am right and he or she is wrong. We're both right. Just need to listen. And as I've been teaching more yin yoga classes the past year, it's really given me time to do introspection, and I've really I've dived deep into asking real questions, and through holding space for others to expand, to be authentic and real and vulnerable. It's allowed me to really, really see myself as well, and how I want to hold space for myself and what I would love to receive from my human connections as well. And I have found out that my capacity to love, it has like no words, it has no boundaries. It's huge, that capacity. And I love to believe and think that there are so many wonderful, beautiful human beings that I haven't even met yet, that I am going to love. But in order to meet those people, I have to give up being shy. I come back to that wisdom that I already had when I was 24 years old. But I've shied away from that knowledge, that truth, because it's freaking scary to be just who I am, to allow myself to be authentic and allow myself to get hurt and criticized, and to live maybe just a tiny bit differently than it's, I don't know, acceptable in the society. Because I've lived differently, I really have. And I've tried to fit myself in the narrative that is like so-called normal, whatever normal is. And then I struggle, and then I burn out, and then I feel so much anxiety. So maybe I just have to give up being shy again. Because I've realized that, yes, we all wear masks in different situations with different people, different sides of us come out, and it's totally fine. And there are sides to us that probably won't change throughout our lives. I am an introvert. I'm sure it's not going to change. But being an introvert doesn't mean that I'm a 100% introvert, that I don't like people, or that I don't want human connection. Of course I do. So hiding behind the mask of being an introvert and that I constantly want to be by myself and alone, it's an old story. It's not true anymore. I do need a lot of time to be by myself to recharge. Yes, that is still true. But I've also learned how to differentiate like the energies of people, and that there are people that actually give me energy, and allow those people in to like gift that the most precious gift that we have, our time, to like gift it to them. it's been so easy to push everyone away, or like give just a little glimpse of who I am to them. But to really, really intimately let people in, that's been my biggest fear. It takes courage, so much courage, to let people in intimately. Like on a really raw, I don't know, state. I gave up being shy. What a freaking title to a book. And in my eyes, like a book to be successful, it has to sell good. And I was like a little embarrassed that it didn't sell many copies. I think I sold around 200 books. Maybe more, I don't know, something like that. And so I allowed myself to believe that it wasn't good, or that no one needs this. It's a failure. Without realizing that I've needed it for my own personal growth so much. And what I do today and how I create, how I hold space for others, this same book and all those experiences that led to publishing this book are a huge part of who I am today, and this is already a success. It's a huge success that I didn't allow myself to see, because in society's norms, this book is not a success. It's like whatever. But hey, how many people are willing to even go to that length to put themselves out there for everyone to read? May it be like in the end 2 people or 200, 2,000, 2 million people that read it, but it's still, the step is the same. You put yourself out and everyone can like dive into your intimate feelings. So with that, I just want to tell myself that, hey, be more courageous to just be yourself. This video is for me. I needed to get this out. I sat with tea for an hour, and then I just started talking to myself because all this was coming out. And then I stopped myself. I was like, okay, just put the camera on and tell that same thing, so that you would remember how you felt and what you realized, and actually be proud of yourself, who you are, who you've become. Treasure what you have shared, how much you've grown. And I wish we all did that. That we all saw our beauty, and that we all would let more love in, and that we would all love more courageously. Love more courageously. I gave up being shy.